The views and opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the advertisers, owners, or management of Pacific Telestations, LLC. For comments, opinions, and questions, please email Jess Lujan at jessthebuzz@gmail.com. The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Good evening, Guam. I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to this edition of The Buzz. Exciting show tonight. I have Myra Uggan here, is a University of the Gallaudet University, Washington, D.C. She just completed her junior year. She'll be an incoming senior. And I also have Heather Zimmerman, who'll be my translator today for, of course, for Myra. And they also just completed a summer camp for deaf and hard of hearing children. Please tell us about it. I know you were one of the counselors Yeah,
last week we had Deaf Camp. Me and my intern team and other volunteers that are local worked together, and our director all worked together for about 12 deaf students and many more hearing students. We had a lot of fun. Everyone enjoyed themselves. We finished off with a big fiesta. It was really awesome. We hope to just, encourage these kids and help them develop their hopes and dreams for the future. It was great.
Now, you are a graduate, of course, of Guam Public School System, Department of Education. You were a graduate of my alma mater, John F. Kennedy High School, right?
Yep,
Go
exactly.
Islanders. I like you already.
Exactly. Go Islanders!
I like you already.
Exactly.
But you also, what middle school and what elementary school did you go to?
For elementary school, I went to Mooning Elementary School,
okay.
and then middle school, I went to Agata Johnson.
Okay. And then, of course, yeah. Now, when did you start learning sign? Again, from birth on, and then how was DOE in providing you with again what you needed to succeed?
So, I was born. When I was born, my parents didn't know that I was deaf. I was born in a hearing family. Everyone could hear, and they found out I was deaf when I was about 2 years old. I was pretty young. The hospital didn't help identify that. So my family decided to move to California and provide me with some early intervention services there. California has a lot of early intervention services for deaf and hard of hearing children. And I believe when I was about 3 or 4, that's when I started to learn ASL through the early intervention program. My parents were also learning at the time, and it was really important for us all to be able to communicate in an accessible language. And because of that, I was able to communicate with hearing people and deaf people, and it made me able to really thrive.
So again, with that, DOE was able to provide you with that, because you definitely succeeded in the system and graduated, and now you're at Gallaudet University. And so, was there a challenge at some point? Because we often hear about the challenges of DOE in providing their one-on-ones for challenged individuals. Now, maybe there are challenges that are harder to fulfill as opposed to maybe the deaf and hard of hearing. Did you run into that problem?
Yeah, I did experience that a lot, especially here on Guam. When we moved back from California when I was 8, there was a lot of challenges for me here because school was too easy for me. I was advanced when I came back to Island because I had a lot of great services. So they put me in a mainstream program with an interpreter, and that helped me a lot because I was able to function at the same level as my hearing peers and just go along with an interpreter. The interpreters weren't always the best, but I made do. I went through a lot of struggles with learning English because it's my second language. Sign language is my first language. But thanks to my interpreters, my teachers, my parents, and my friends for supporting me and pushing me to help me become successful. And through all those struggles, I made it and I was able to thrive. And I graduated from JFK. I wanted to go to Gallaudet. and they helped me get there, and I went to Gallaudet University.
Now, let me ask you, I'm asking this out of ignorance, okay? And most of us don't know this. But you said you learned how to speak English. So is sign language a universal language? Or learning English, you learn English sign? Because in Gallaudet University, I'm sure you have a lot of kids from different parts of the world, and they may have learned sign in their own language if sign is not universal. So is it universal at first? Yeah.
Right. So basically, I learned ASL. There are loads of different sign languages. For any country, there is their own sign language. And it is not universal at all. It is just like English, with different accents and styles and communication preferences. It's just like in Spain, like in Korea and Japan and all these different countries. Everyone has their own language, and they have their own sign language as well.
So it's just like learning a language. In order to communicate with a deaf or hard of hearing individual, say from Spain or from Japan, you'll have to learn their language, their sign language, right?
Yes, exactly. ASL, it's my first language. My second language is written English, and and my third is Korean Sign Language.
Oh, wow.
And I started learning that in high school. And my friends who use Korean Sign Language started teaching me that, and I just was fascinated with the language. So I've got 3 languages under my belt.
Yeah. Now obviously, again, very successful camp here, and we're glad that you're here. You're going to be going back and completing your senior year at Gallaudet. Are you, once you've gotten your bachelor's, are you going to continue to get your master's and maybe a doctorate, or are you going to maybe take some time off and maybe come back to Guam? And is it feasible to come back to Guam to be able to teach? Because my understanding is that you major in education, right?
Well, actually, my major is deaf studies, and I'm minoring in deaf ed.
Okay.
And I do want to teach deaf students in Guam. That is my plan, my long-term goal. But after I graduate from Gallaudet University, I'm thinking about taking a break for 1 year probably and traveling the world. I really want to travel to some different countries and experience their cultures, and just go back to graduate school after that year of exploring myself and my identity, and experience the work world for a few years. After that, I want to come back to the island and give back to the community so that I can help improve our island, because the island is close to my heart. I cherish this island.
Sure. What do you see right off the bat, like today, if you had graduated, if you had traveled the world already, and you're ready to come back, what is the biggest challenge or hurdle do you see that you must overcome in order to be able to move back here and teach what you had been taught, or what is your profession, if it were today?
So I want to work with deaf people, but there's a lot of barriers because we have weak Americans with Disabilities Acts here, because there's a lot of oppression for people who are deaf and hard of hearing or disabled. There's a lot of oppression for these people because, you understand, deaf people, there's not a lot of access. They're linguistically deprived. There's a lot of low expectations. So there needs to be a lot of exposure and raising awareness so that they can voice their rights and be educated and empowered. There needs to be good interpreters. There needs to be interpreters that can provide access at hospitals or employment settings. And these people who are deaf and hard of hearing need to know that they can. But the ADA, it needs to be more exercised on the island, because there's a lot of people that don't know that they have rights. I believe there's 7 or 8 interpreters on island total that were working at DOE in the middle school, elementary, and high school. But that's not enough interpreters, because what about interpreters for clear communication and other situations, like a legal situation, a cop and like a cop pulling you over on the side of the road? You need an interpreter.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about people with autism as well, that there needs to be some awareness in regards to the first responders and how to handle them as well. And likewise, again, deaf and hard of hearing, You know, I mean, a lot of the time the first responders are very limited in their hand gestures, and you know, people with deaf or hard of hearing, you know, may be very distressed and maybe not see or maybe not know exactly what those gestures mean at that time. So there definitely, as you said, awareness needs to be had. But we'll talk more about that awareness and how we'll go about, again, to try to get that awareness here in Guam, to enable you, people like yourselves and others, to move back here and prosper. And then give the much needed service for our people.
That's my goal. That's my goal. I want to raise the awareness. I want to raise the level of well-being and health on the island for deaf people.
I'm going to take a quick break, okay? We got to pay some commercial or bills, and then we'll be right back, okay?